Going through the electrochemistry quiz. Chlorine's on its own, so it's 0. Iodine's on its own, so it's 0. Potassium is in group 1, so it's +1. Iodine's in group 7, -1. Potassium +1. Chlorine in group 7 and -1. Now we can take a look at chlorine goes from 0 to -1, which means it has been reduced. It has gained electrons. And the iodine has gone from -1 to 0, so it has been oxidized and it has lost electrons. In other words, it has become less negative. So which substance has been reduced? It is going to be the chlorine. And then the next part of the question says which substance is the reducing agent. The reducing agent is whatever gets oxidized. So you can either say that it is the potassium iodide or just the I-. But in this particular instance, you were given I- as one of the options in multiple choice. Because if you think about it, this potassium is actually a K+ and an I- that have been ionically bonded. Taking a look at the next one, you've got bromine on its own and iodine on its own. The two group 7 elements bonded, -1. The group 1 element bonded, +1. You've then got bromine goes from 0 to -1, so it is reduced. And the iodide goes from -1 to 0, so it is oxidized. It has lost electrons. Question asks me which substance is oxidized in this reaction. You can have said potassium iodide. I'm okay with that. But in terms of the multiple choice, you were given I-. And then which substance is the oxidizing agent? The oxidizing agent is the substance that has been reduced, so it is the bromine. The next one, I'm going to give 0 to the two elements on their own. The sulfate ion as a group is -2. Since there's one sulfate, this is +2, and again over here, that's -2 and +2 on the ion to get me to 0. If I needed to break this into its parts, I would have -8. What +6? So the oxygens are both -2 times 4 is -8 plus 6 gives me -2. Here, let's do that working again. -2. -2 times 4 is -8. The sulfate ion alone has to equal -2, so that's +6. And there's only one sulfur, so it's +6. They ask me then which substance is reduced. Or let's quickly show exactly. We've got from iron going from 0 to +2, so it is oxidized. And we have got copper going from +2 to 0, so that is reduced. It has gained electrons. You're then going to say which substance has been reduced. The substance that has been reduced is the copper 2+. And which substance is an oxidizing agent? An oxidizing agent would have been reduced itself, but in this case they've asked me something a bit weird. They have said which substance is the oxidizing agent in the reverse reaction. So let's think about that. Whatever's happening in reverse is exactly opposite to what happened going forwards. So now they want to know the oxidizing agent. So what got reduced when we were going backwards? It is going to be the Fe2+. Which substance is the reducing agent in the reverse reaction here? So let's start putting all our little numbers in. Magnesium's on its own, aluminium's on its own. Magnesium's in group 2, so it's +2. The sulfate ion, we worked out earlier, is +6 -2, or if you prefer, plus and -2 as a group. Aluminium's in group 3, so it's +3, and we've got +6 -2, and that's -2 as a group. Just double checking ourselves over here. We've got aluminium +3, so that becomes +6. We've then got +6, and there are 3 of those +6s, so it's +18. And then we have got 4 -2s times by 3 over there, so it's 8 times 3, so it's -24. Does that equal 0? It does, so that all makes sense. Let's see what's been oxidized and reduced. The aluminium has gone from 3 plus to 0, so it has been reduced, and the magnesium has gone from 0 to plus 2, so it has been oxidized. First question, which substance is the reducing agent in the reverse reaction? So if I'm considering the reverse reaction over here, I am going to look at what happens if that goes backwards. This becomes reduced, this becomes oxidized, and they want the reducing agent. It is the substance that has been oxidized. So it's your aluminium. Which substance is oxidized in the reaction? So now going back to the forward reaction. So let's go back to reduction and oxidation over there. For the forward reaction, what got oxidized? It would have been the magnesium that got oxidized. In the following reaction, which substance is the reducing agent? Let's just take a look at that reaction. I've got a 0 over there, a plus 2. They've told me the plus 2, they've told me the plus 3, and that's minus 1. So I am going to look for what got oxidized. I've got chlorine going from 0 to minus 1, so that is reduced, and iron 2 plus going from plus 2 to plus 3, so that is oxidized. And therefore, which substance is the reducing agent? What got oxidized? The Fe2+. Which one of the following statements concerning this reaction is correct? So let's just unpack that reaction a little bit. Sulfur is, let's make it a bit bigger. There we go. So we've got sulfur is, we can't work it out. We need minus 2 over there. Minus 2 times 2 is minus 4. So the sulfur is plus 4. Magnesium's on its own, sulfur's on its own, minus 2 for oxygen, plus 2. So I can say sulfur's gone from plus 4 to 0, it was reduced, and magnesium has gone from 0 to plus 2, so it has been oxidized. What's the question? Sulfur was oxidized, no, sulfur got reduced, and they've written it with a one-way arrow, so I'm only going to concern myself with the forward reaction. Sulfur dioxide is reduced, that's true. Magnesium gained electrons, no, magnesium lost electrons. Both magnesium and sulfur dioxide are oxidized. What a load of rubbish. You can only have one thing being oxidized and one thing being reduced. Then consider the next two reactions over there. The one we've already done, because we've got it up above. Let's just take a look at the other one. It's also going to end up being plus 4 minus 2 plus 1, 0 plus 1 minus 2. And I therefore can say that in this case sulfur went from plus 4 to 0, and in doing that it has been reduced. So the reducing agents are the things that got oxidized. In this reaction, the sulfur went from minus 2 to 0, so it got oxidized over there. So in the first reaction, the magnesium has been oxidized. Sorry, in the second reaction, magnesium has been oxidized. In the first reaction, the hydrogen sulfide has been oxidized. So the reducing agents are hydrogen sulfide and magnesium. So that answer is actually C. Which one of the following reactions is not a redox reaction? Now, this is quite hard, and it's probably the hardest question there was here. You have to think them through. Zinc plus hydrochloric acid, you are supposed to know that a metal plus an acid gives me a salt plus hydrogen. Can you clearly see that some stuff has gone from 0, and there's clearly been some change in oxidation numbers there. Magnesium adds to chlorine, and we all know that magnesium and chlorine would be together magnesium chloride. Again, 0, 0, plus 2, minus 1. There's been a change in oxidation numbers. So this is a redox reaction, this is a redox reaction. A zinc spoon in copper sulfate. So let's just try that for a sec. We're going to say zinc and copper sulfate. Last year you learned that zinc was more reactive than copper, so it grabs its partner, and I get zinc sulfate and copper. Again, 0, 0, plus 2, minus 2. You can see a change in oxidation numbers. The last one is hydrochloric acid is put into sodium chloride. Well, that's just acid and water and sodium and chlorine. This is going to not do anything. There's no reaction whatsoever. This will stay +1, -1, +1, -1. And on the other side, you're going to just land up with the H plus ion, the Cl minus ion, the Na plus ion, and again, they're just going to be +1, +1, -1. So there's no change in oxidation state there, and therefore D is your correct answer. The conversion of the dichromate ion to chromium 3 plus ions is a result of what? Let's take a look. You've got Cr2O7 2 minus. There are -2 for oxygen, so it becomes -14. It needs to be equal to -2. So I'm going to need +12 here, but there are 2 of them, so it becomes +6. So what has happened is chromium has gone from +6 to +3. That is a reduction. So we are looking for a reduction. And what is reduction? Reduction is the gaining of electrons. So my correct answer is A. What is the oxidation number of the atom underlined in, and this was supposed to be underlined and for some reason it just wouldn't underline. Well, we've already worked that out now. We've got the answer as +6. And an oxidizing agent is a thing that gets reduced. So it is something that undergoes reduction. It is an oxidizing agent is reduced, so it gains electrons, so that's wrong. And it increases its oxidation number. Actually, an oxidizing agent decreases its oxidizing number.